Welcome back to the desk. I'm joined by Wyatt, Dylan, Justin, and Chris to talk Pioneer basketball. The Pioneers squared off against TCNJ Lions on Wednesday, and Dylan and Wyatt were on the call. They had a chance to sit down with freshman Gabby Harris after the game.
And with us now we have Gabby Harris. Gabby, you had a nice game tonight, 7 and 6, but the shots during that second quarter weren't falling. How did you girls do a good job of getting back together as a group to put on a excellent performance in the third quarter, and you girls clawed back into the ballgame?
We listened to our captains because Tori and Nala, they're always like, Nicole, they always like, stay disciplined, keep your mind in the game, like don't let little things ruin your game, and that's how we came back. Trying to get back into the game.
So we talked about it with the guys team, and I think you guys are both very similar in the fact that you have a ton of shooters on both of these teams, but you really don't have that big girl on the inside to compete with teams like TCNJ or even against Stockton, but you guys still manage to win a ton of these games. What do you attribute that success to? I mean, you guys are shooting at a really high clip from outside.
Wait, excuse me, what you asked?
Like, you guys are shooting it really well on the outside. Do you guys play together? What do you guys practice on the court? What kind of plays?
We try to get the ball into the post, but, like, we want the ball at the three-point line. And it's either you live or you die by the three. So, yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, guys, it was a tough loss for the Pioneers. It's a tough one to get over. What went wrong for the ladies?
Well, if we take a look at the graphic here, you know, I talked to Gabby Harris about this. They really don't have a lot of big girls on this team, and they will get killed inside the paint. But I thought which was most impressive about this game is they really didn't. I mean, you can see they only got outscored 20-16, and this is a really small William Paterson team that lost a big girl in Alex Milne last year. Also, Brittany Harden that helped them out on the boards. This is a William Paterson team that going into the playoffs is going to have a lot of trouble against a bigger TCNJ team, against a bigger Stockton team. That will kill them.
And you can see the numbers here. The Lions really capitalized on the turnovers by the Pioneers. You see they doubled up on the Pioneers in points off turnovers. But what really did it for me, what really did the Pioneers in, was the dismal second quarter that they had. They only put up 4 points in the second quarter, and you don't score for a stretch of time and you allow TCNJ to continue to capitalize on your mistakes. They dug themselves in a hole that they were never able to get out of.
Yeah, I was feeling the same way. To continue what you were saying, they shot 2 of 19 in the quarter. By the end of that quarter, it was 25-14. They just dug themselves in a hole they really could not dig out of.
And they weren't bad looks. It was more they just couldn't knock down a shot.
Yeah, lit on the basket.
And that also transferred over to the fourth quarter where they only scored 8 points in that quarter. And total between the second quarter and the fourth quarter, it was 30-12.
Yeah,
so Pioneers got to do a better job.
This is a team that on offense can get really stagnant really fast. And they have to learn, because they're so young, because they're so small, they have to be able to play together and be able to shoot those threes but get effective looks.
Yeah, they're definitely going to need to improve. The NJAC tournament's coming up, guys. How do you think they're going to do going into the tournament?
I think they'll do well, but they can't think about it yet. They still need to win these next 2 games. It's not a cakewalk into the playoffs anymore. They just dropped 3 straight, so they got to beat Rutgers-Camden on Saturday and then Kane next Wednesday. Then they can worry about the playoffs. 2 big games left. They need to focus on those.
They're still in the playoff picture right now, but they're a 6 seed after the loss, so they're 8-8 in the division. But as of right now, as of today, they're going to match up with number 12 in the country, Montclair, which is never a good. It's tough to be optimistic when you're playing one of the top programs in the country, and we saw twice already this season. Montclair has completely dismantled the Pioneers, so it's definitely not a matchup we want to look forward to. Yeah, like Justin said, just try to win out, get these last 2 divisional games under your belt as wins, and just hopefully you don't see Montclair until the finals.
Right, you guys just touched on it. These 2 games to end the season are going to be huge. They're going to need to set the tone for the playoffs. It's so important, timing, being able to be playing your best basketball at the end of the season.
Yeah, the only way they're going to beat Montclair, and they couldn't do it last year. I mean, Dylan, me and you talked about it on the broadcast, and me and you were there in Montclair last year. That's where their season ended.
Yeah.
You have to be able to hit your threes, and you got to there has to be a little bit of luck factor thrown in there. But if you win these last 2 games, you really don't have to see Montclair until you get into a semifinal or final game.
All right, now let's switch over to the men's side. They also had a tough loss against TCNJ. What went wrong for the Pioneers?
I think the same problem for the men is going on with the women. They do not have a lot of big guys, especially losing Tariq Bridge. We talk about it all season. We'll take a look at the graphic right now and some of the statistics. This is a team that was in it all the way to the end. They really weren't playing well. But then Galen Smith hit a bunch of big threes. Joseph Taylor hit a lot of big shots. This is a team that probably is not going to make the playoffs. They're going to need a lot of help, but was very exciting all year. This game really was a culmination of his entire disappointing season that just really didn't amount to where the Pioneers wanted to be.
And I'll tell you what, it's important to make note, the TCNJ Lions were 16-6 coming into last night, and the Pioneers were, I believe, 10-12. So for the game to be as close as it was against a much better, at least the records will say that TCNJ was much better, the Pioneers held their own. But there was a little bit too much Corey Stanford. Corey Stanford had 21 and 17. He had a monster game.
Two big guys,
and
him
Bermudez,
and
I think was the other kid's
just
name. Yes.
killed the Pioneers on the inside, and Richie Espinal just had his hands full, ended up fouling out in that game because he's just not big enough to handle these guys.
And that's been the story all year with the guys team. They just can't match up with teams who have height, with big guys, with traditional centers. Bermudez, I mean, he was putting on a show. He was just hook shots, drop steps. That kid was a pure center, and the Pioneers had no answer for him.
Some of the issues they've been having all year, not just this TCNJ game, is they find themselves down early a lot. They got themselves in a big hole once again in the beginning, and they couldn't fight back towards the end. They made it a game, but they couldn't close it out. These guys need to learn how to close out their games.
And it's similar to the Knicks, where they dig themselves in such a hole. They try to have these comebacks, and then they fall short because they tire themselves out, spending so much energy trying to come back. That was a great point, Justin.
Yeah, good analysis. To update us with the rest of the action from the Pioneers, we bring in our correspondent, Dante Vocaturo.
Men's swimming finished its dual meet season 10-6 with a loss to number 13 TCNJ on Monday. Senior Jeremy Euler led the Pioneers with 2 season best times in the 500 and 1,000 freestyles. On the other side of the pool, women's swimming closed out their dual meet season with a loss to TCNJ. Sophomore Casey Murphy's first place finish in the 500 freestyle was William Paterson's lone win on the night. Both the men's and women's teams will compete at the Metropolitan Championships in Piscataway starting February 17th. And special congratulations go out to senior swimmer Vera Blazewska, who was named NJAC Women's Swimmer of the Week on Monday. This is the 11th time in her career she has earned this award, 3 coming this season. Blazewska is perfect in her career in the 200-meter breast and has made the All-NJAC first team 6 times.
Thank you, Dante. Stay tuned, because coming up next, we've got the football guys to break down the Super Bowl. Don't go anywhere.